everyone, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for coming out to UBA's Week 2 event with PwC. We're super excited to have them here with us today. If you are here and you didn't register, or even if you do register, please make sure you sign into our QR code. This is just a way for us to verify who is here, and this is also going to help in terms of whether when you apply for like our mentorship program, we do track who has been the most engaged with our organization and has been coming out to our events. And this QR code will go up at the end as well. So as of right now, feel free to take just like a quick picture, or if you can pull up like your Snapchat, like scan it really fast, feel free to do that. But yeah, thank you for everyone for coming out. Just as a reminder, like I just mentioned, our mentorship apps are due very soon, so we're due in about 2 weeks. As a reminder, there's our link right there. We have been pubbing it on all of our social media platforms, so make sure you follow us there. And this is just a great opportunity for all of you as our members to learn from the board members, from beyond what we show you at meetings. You get to do some one-on-one networking with us, get a one-on-one pairing as well, going into your industry of interest, and we're looking forward to seeing all of your applications there. And now we're going to go ahead and pass it off to our PwC reps to take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Valerie. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much. It's great to see everybody, even though it's a virtual. And Mike, thanks for sharing the screen. But we're really looking forward to spending some time with you and jumping into some of the breakout rooms. But as Mike's kind of putting out there, it all starts with you, which is a huge motto for PwC. People are our biggest assets. A lot of people think that clients are the biggest assets, but if we think about it, we don't have any clients without having people. So everything starts at PwC with our folks. And maybe a little bit of introduction, and I'll let everybody go through. But my name is Lance First. I'm a tax partner here in Orange County. I've been with the firm for 30 years, actually a little bit more than 30 years. And I've been in a number of offices. So I started in Southern California. I went to Northern California where I got into tax. I actually just got returned to California from about a decade, 10 or 11 year stint in Minneapolis. So I'm really excited to be back in Orange County starting in last December. So the world looks a lot different than where we were in December than it does, and nobody would ever imagine that we would be working virtually or meeting virtually. But with all the investments that PwC has made, we're able to jump out of the office, keep everybody safe, probably around the middle of March or so. So I hope everybody's doing well. And Mike, you want to kick it off next, and we'll go around the horn, and I'll come back and tell you a little bit about PwC.
Sure. Thanks, Lance. I'm Michael Call, a director in assurance. I've been with the firm, well, I'm going into my 10th year now. I graduated from Chapman University here in Orange County. I started with the firm, really as a summer leadership program attendee many years ago. Interned with PwC and then started full-time. The entirety of the time I've been based out of the Orange County office here. Sabrina?
All right, I'll go next. My name is Sabrina Woody. I'm a UCI alumni. I actually started my career at Grant Thornton, so I was there for 3 years. And then I switched to PwC about over 6 years ago, so also going into my 10th year in accounting and audit. Specifically, I work closely with Mike Cole in the private company services sector in the Orange County office as well.
You got to do zot, Sabrina.
Yeah, zot. Go ahead, Nishant. Is Nishant on mute, maybe?
Yeah, you might be muted. Sorry, for all of our reps, everyone's automatically muted, so yeah.
Yep, yeah. Sorry about
that.
Can you guys hear me now?
We can.
Yeah.
Okay, great. My name is Nishant Gamari. I'm a risk assurance, specifically process assurance manager out of the Orange County office. I've been with the firm for, this will be my 8th year now. Well, I'm not a UCI alumni. I went to UCR, and I'm very familiar with UCI. I had a lot of friends there, so I've been around campus quite a bit. Definitely a great place to be, and I do miss it. but looking forward to getting to know all of you a little bit more.
I guess I can go next. My name is Crizelle, and I'm an experienced associate in the OC office in the PCS assurance side. I graduated in Cal State San Marcos, and I've been with the firm for a year now. Hi everyone, my name is Kendall Riley. I am an assurance associate in the OC office. I'm in PCS doing assurance. I went to Whittier College for my undergrad, and then I went to USC for my master's in accounting. I've been with the firm for a little over a year now.
All righty.
All right. How about a little bit of who PwC is? And Mike, you want to maybe advance the next slide, and we can kind of give everybody a flavor for who PwC is. So we're over 276,000 people, which is really a hard number to kind of comprehend, but maybe even one of an even larger number to comprehend is we have over 50,000 people across all levels. So, you know, from our new joiners, associates, all the way through partners in the US. You know, we're a leading brand in terms of professional services. Actually, Fortune magazine put us as the leading professional service provider in that brand, coming in at ranking in at number 70. So we do a lot of work with both, as you heard, a couple of our folks here, including myself, are in our private company services, but we also serve 86% of the Fortune Global 500 companies. So a good mix of services between public companies, private companies, their stakeholders, and you know, and families, for example, in our private company group. A couple of other things, you know, in terms of how we look at serving the community. We've donated, you know, over $3.5 million by our charitable contribution fund. So PwC has a foundation where any employee or anybody for that matter can make a contribution to the PwC Charitable Foundation, and we make grants based on need. So every one of our offices actually gets some control over which ones of those grants and where those grants go. But so year to date, over $3.5 million to coronavirus related, you know, contributions. So whether it's helping businesses, food shelters, anything of the like, you know, we're participating in all of our markets. So one of the things that I'm most excited about is we call it Access Your Potential, which is it's a 5-year investment, it's $320 million, and we're really concentrating on closing the skill gap in education, making sure and understanding that going down to the level of even some high school you know, classes, for example, is making that commitment to the schools and to try to close the opportunity gap, creating some student mentorships, some coaching. And one of the things that we offer is 40 hours for everybody, everybody that works for us to go join anything of a charitable contribution that is their passion. So for me, I've been, one of my passions is children's mental health. So I was on the board of a children's mental health facility in Minneapolis, and looking for ways I can give back to the community here in Orange County. So Mike, you want to kind of flip it and we can kind of talk about some of our culture and our values. It was funny, I was looking at the screen and telling my wife that I can't take a break, and she looked at the screen and said, well, you're just watching some video. Like, what are you really doing? And I said, well, this is part of our presentation, you know, going through our people and our culture. You know, we're a diverse and inclusive organization. Our clients are diverse. They're from many different backgrounds, and, you know, look for different perspectives in terms of, you know, how we can serve them and how best we can deliver value. So we need people that are diverse and inclusive as well. We're committed to responsible business leadership. You know, so everything from doing the right thing in the world, doing the right thing in your community, doing the right thing for everybody that works for us as well. So a couple of points there. The next one is be well, work well. maybe you know, some of our other colleagues here can kind of jump in terms of some of the things that they're doing in terms of the Be Well Work Well environment. But it doesn't just start with work. It's not all work. You know, we're dedicated to improving our physical well-being, our emotional well-being, our mental well-being, and our spiritual well-being. So we have everything from a number of apps. I don't know if anybody has ever heard the Calm app. I use that a lot, almost on a nightly basis, to be able to relax. And I think what that does is it helps me kind of recharge and you know, take that into our client base. So try to drive some energy out of it. Anybody else on the PwC side have anything to add on our people and culture?
I would add, you know, in addition to the Calm app, there's a lot of other resources and things that the firm offers. Another app that is really great is called the Ginger app. And so if you're, you know, stressed or anything like that, you're able to use this app completely confidentially, completely free of charge, and you actually get links to share it with other dependents or others in your household as well. And I have found that personally to be a great resource whenever anything was coming up. So that's another area that the firm is really pushing, is continuing to ensure everyone's mental health is where it should be, especially as we're all quarantining and having to kind of navigate these new times too. So that's just another thing to mention.
That's great, Sabrina, and you're right. And I think it's not only available to just us as, you know, PwCers. As Sabrina mentioned, it's available to your family. So you know, even my daughter has used it, you know, and found it really resourceful. So thanks for mentioning that. Anybody else, or Sabrina, you want to kick us off to what Accounting 101 is?
Oh,
sure.
Yeah, real quick.
Mike,
I mean, I'd also highlight just what we've been doing around diversity and inclusion, right? I mean, you know, the people in this group may not realize, but Botham Jean, you know, who unfortunately passed away many years, you know, 2 years ago now, right? He was a PwCer, and you know, I think the firm started to move in the right direction then, but you know, certainly with what's transpired over the last, you know, 6 months or so since the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, you know, and everyone, right? We've taken a major stand as a firm, and frankly, I'm proud of what we've done. You know, and it goes from the top, right? It's Tim Ryan, our senior partner here in the U.S., setting a tone where it's like, hey, if you're not on board, if you're not going to support, you know, diversity inclusion, if you're not going to be an ally and try to make a difference, then maybe you shouldn't be here at PwC with us. And you know, we've, as a firm, dedicated, you know, just extensive resources to trying to make a difference in this space, be it time, you know, of our professionals as well as money. We've identified a pretty large SWAT team, if you will, of people that are specializing now. We're going to focus for the next year working with various corporate leaders and people that are, you know, from other companies that are within the CEO direct network that PwC is a part of, to help find ways and drive ideas, both policy, you know, within the governments and within business to try to make a difference. So something that I'm, yeah, just really proud about what the firm's done. So.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I mean, I think, you know, you mentioned it, you know, Tim starting his CEO action for diversity and inclusion a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I'm not exactly sure when it started, you know, and to have other CEOs and other sort of, you know, Tim level executives join in the fight for diversity and inclusion. And now there's over 700 CEOs and presidents across the country that are committed to the advancement of inclusive workforces and inclusive workplaces. So it kind of gives you a level of the commitment that PwC, you know, has for diversity and inclusion. All right, Sabrina, you want to take us to Accounting 101?
Sure. All right. So if you want to advance one more slide, Mike. All right. So Accounting 101, what is it that accountants and auditors really do? So these next two slides kind of talks a little bit about that. And this first slide here is a little bit of a summary. First and foremost, of course, we're trying to make sure numbers can be trusted. Secondly, we need to make sure we're understanding, the complexities of each unique business, whether we're an accountant or an auditor of that business. We need to make sure we understand their specific operations and their role in society. Next, we need to make sure accurate and relevant information as it relates to any sort of new areas. And then finally, we need to make sure, or we get to work directly with decision makers of various companies. And one kind of example of that, as I think about my career and being able to kind of be in the room with decision makers, a few years ago, when the tax cuts came out and there was a lot of corporate tax savings, I was in the boardroom when, the impact of that was being looked at in the financial statements, and board members are making, decisions and talking through what does that mean for the company. So I felt, having that type of insight behind the scenes, being able to have that access to real decision making for corporations locally just is very insightful. So that was just a great example I thought to share about how we're really truly in the room when it comes to these things. I'm going to go to the next slide, Mike. All right, so these next couple slides I'll talk through, and then I'll hand it over to Mike to go through the rest of them, but they're a little bit more just examples of these areas I just touched on. So when we think about, understanding complexity of a business, what does that really mean? Why do we need to do that? Well, an example of that is, if we think about the aging global population, and as, an accountant or an auditor, we need to make sure we're understanding what the impact of that is to our businesses, whether that be through actuarial calculations, models, things of that nature. You need to be able to help your businesses make proper decisions based on the impact of what is going on in society. Next slide. All right. Another area here as we talk about, okay, relevant new information, what does that mean for us? Well, as everyone might be aware, in the US, our accounting framework is US GAAP, but around the world, a lot of the various countries are in IFRS or some sort of form of local IFRS. So over time, the thought is the accounting profession is going to want to have more of a uniform standard. And we have seen that recently with 606, trying to align the standards more closely, 842 coming out around leasing, just trying to be transparent and having one framework is the future goal. So that's an example of how we need to always be on our toes and making sure we're learning and adaptable to new information, make sure that's being done accurately and correctly. All right, next slide, Mike.
Sure, and I think I'm picking up from here, right?
Yes.
And I would add to the previous slide that you covered, there's this concept of ESG. Maybe you all have heard of it. It's environmental, social, and corporate governance. So there is this focus or a shift that's starting within companies where they are considering stakeholders beyond just the shareholders, right? And really, you have corporate boards considering what are we doing, how is it impacting the environment, how is it impacting society at large, and how does our corporate governance need to change and adapt to be able to support these additional sort of focuses or targets, goals, if you will, beyond just profitability and financial performance. So, next item here is with government accounting standards. So you know, similar to what we were talking about previously, you know, government accounting standards and auditing government entities is something that we do within our profession. I don't think any of us on the line right now happen to be, you know, practicing actively within this group, but there is a distinct set of auditing standards, as well as, you know, some gap that goes along with accounting for governmental entities. Another area where, you know, we at PwC are able to really bring value to our clients is just understanding, you know, how the macro environment is changing, and helping our clients think through the strategies that they would need to appropriately identify the risks and opportunities that are forthcoming. One of these things is the growing global middle class. And along with that, depending on the region that you're looking at, you know, there's also issues of aging population, or in other places, increasing younger population. And both of those have, you know, along with it, impacts on the economy, impacts on businesses and opportunities, and just demands for new services and products. And with that, right, like the people on the line right now, we're primarily assurance. We also have some tax people. Well, we aren't, you know, distinctly advisory professionals, and also, well, assurance folks have to make sure that we're maintaining independence, because it's really the cornerstone of what we do in the insurance world. We are, you know, constantly looking for areas where we can, you know, provide insights to our clients, you know, bring in subject matter experts, you know, potentially be engaged, assuming it's appropriate under the independence restrictions, you know, to provide insights and even services in respects to some of these strategic sort of areas. Another area that's really big these days is, you know, well, one, like it says on the slide, can stakeholders really trust the company's numbers? A big sort of area of focus these days is around your cyber controls. I, you know, personally have had several clients within just the last year where they've had issues with, you know, some sort of cyber breach, oftentimes like a phishing type thing that turns into some sort of ransomware issue. And it, you know, the impact can really vary. You can have a business that goes down for, you know, a number of weeks potentially as they try to purge everything out of their system and then get back up and running again. So cyber is really a big focus these days. And I mean, it also happens to be an area where we're able to add a lot of value to our clients, whether they're, you know, existing audit clients or what you'd call a channel 2 client, where we're providing more advisory sort of hands-on services to them. So next we're going to pass it off, and Kendall, if you want to lead the discussion here, talking through career prep.
Yes. So when I joined accounting, when I was a student my sophomore year, I didn't realize how much you could do in accounting. For some reason, I always just thought it was going to be something that you just sat behind a desk, you had your little like cubicle, and you're just going to work by yourself, which is not the case at all. There's so much you can do accounting. The first is public accounting. So public accounting is firms of accountants that serve clients such as businesses, retailers, manufacturers, individuals, government organizations. These firms can be super big, they can be super small, like you have your mid-sized firms, you have your big 4 accounting firms, so it's just a whole range of sizes. These big public accounting, they prepare, they review, and they audit the client's financial statements. They also can do tax work, including the preparation of income tax returns, estate tax planning, and then you also have your advisory. You can work in mergers and acquisitions for public accounting. And then you also have your corporate and industry accounting. So this, you can work for Disney or Microsoft. So the next one is you can own your own business. I mean, it's always good if you want to start your own business to know how to do the accounting for it. You can work for the government. You can do nonprofit work. And then you can also do education and teaching, so you can eventually become a professor. So the options are endless. It's really whatever, you just go into it being super open-minded and kind of just see where it leads you. Mike, can you go on the next slide? Yeah. So just focusing on public accounting, I think one of my biggest, like my favorite things about public accounting is probably the broad industry and client exposure. So one of my main clients is an HVAC and refrigeration company. And I absolutely love it because before I got into PwC, I had no idea like what an HVAC and refrigeration company does. And so it's just like, it's opened a new world to just see like how like different businesses operate. It's also super nice too, because it's like, as a first year, like I was going and talking to the CFO, and like I had all these different opportunities that public accounting offers me. We can also, I know PwC offers a lot of like global assignments. So like if you're at the firm for a couple of years, like they can, if you want to, you can go live in another country. One thing I love about PwC is the work-life balance and the diverse workforce that we were talking about earlier. And then you just work with amazing people. Everyone's super talented and everyone works together. So I think those so far has been my favorite things about public accounting. And then to find out what career path is right for you, I think you kind of just need to be super open-minded. I think that you should just talk to a ton of individuals, kind of see what they do, see if that's something that you would like or it fits your personality. Get involved on campus, get an internship. There's a lot of different opportunities that you have in college that you should take advantage of, just so you can see if accounting's for you. And then the next is internship. So PwC offers all different internships. We have our START internship that we'll talk about later. But I definitely think the biggest thing is just kind of seeing what's out there, seeing if it's a career that you would like to take, visit Handshake, kind of explore with your family and friends, and contact people. If you see someone that works in a certain accounting firm or something that you might like to do, don't be shy. Like, you should just put yourself out there and see if they can help you out.
Okay, so what does the Big Four look for? Is my audio echoing?
Yeah, you're kind of echoing.
How about now?
It's better.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So what we look for, besides having good grades, because that's a given, you should be maintaining good grades, whether it be your overall GPA or your major specific GPA. Ideally, we look for candidates who have 150 credits once they graduate, mostly because you need 150 credits to apply for your CPA license. Besides the 150 credits, we're also looking.
And the 150 is based on a normal, like a semester system, not a quarter. I think does it work to like 225 or something, Sabrina?
I'm not 100% sure. I think it was 180 for me, like over 9-10 years ago. So I know it's more. So
I think it is 225. Actually.
Yeah, it's 225.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so 150 credits semester-wise, or 225 for the quarter system. Besides that, we're also looking for well-rounded candidates. So candidates that are not only good with their schoolwork, but also are involved in other extracurricular activities. So for example, if you're part of the accounting society, I would totally recommend for you to join the board so you could put that as in your resume as leadership experience. And other organizations or activities that can show your communication skills as well as your multitasking skills. Another key component of accounting or being an accounting student is knowing that networking is key. So there's all these networking events, social events that your school probably holds. I would take full advantage of that and meet the professionals from different companies so you could put yourself out there and so you could start building that relationship early on. You should always also network with the faculty and upperclassmen. So it's nice to communicate to your professors and people who have graduated and have gone through the recruiting process, because they can give you tips and advice that in the recruiting process of what to do and what not to do, as well as direct you to the right people when it comes to like the right recruiters for their companies and whatnot. Another good thing about accounting is that it's very structured. So if you know the deadlines, so ideally you would start with summer leadership program all the way to your internships and to the full-time position. Everyone hopes that they'll get a job or they'll get an offer for a full-time position before they graduate. And with accounting, that's possible, as long as you know like the deadlines and like the recruiting process. So it's good to become educated on that process. And of course, research on the potential careers and future employers. You may not know exactly what you want to do, but it's good to reach out to people who have gone through the process, whether it be professionals you meet in the networking events or professors or even your classmates that have gone through like the interview process, so you at least can get a feel of the careers that you might want to do or take on after you graduate. And it's not required, but you would want to think about getting relevant work experience, because accounting in school can be different from accounting in the real world. So at least getting that work experience, you can see for yourself whether you like one career path over another.
Yeah. And Crizel, I'm going to jump in real quick. So, back to the networking and just really how do you figure out and navigate the recruiting process. I want to give a shout out to Sarah Zhu and Paula Chin, who are both on the line and happen to be incoming interns. Would suggest reaching out to them. I feel like both of them navigated the process pretty well, so could, I'm sure, provide some insights to their fellow anteaters. Also, on the relevant work experience, so you might think, hey, I definitely got to get some sort of accounting experience or even a smaller public accounting firm, that sort of thing. I would say that's great, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in accounting. There's different, I'd say, aspects of relevance. In what we do in the public accounting world in particular, soft skills, your ability to serve customers and interact with customers, with team members, it's very important. So to that end, you could be working in a grocery store and it can provide you with relevant experience, or you could be working in a restaurant, as a server or a host, and that would provide you with relevant experience. So, I would just say, think broadly about the relevant work experience. It doesn't necessarily just have to be accounting. If it is, great, but certainly not an absolute. And you can take valuable sort of lessons and grow from lots of different work opportunities. So.
Okay, so for audit, tax, and risk assurance, we would prefer an accounting concentration, but that doesn't mean that we were only looking for accounting. There's other majors that we're looking for, which includes finance, economics, even global supply chain. So it's not just limited to an accounting degree. Anything to add, Mike, or?
Just to jump in, maybe. Oh, just to jump in, sorry, my computer started to go to sleep. I wasn't moving my mouse. Just to jump in, so I actually was a business economics major at UCI, and I minored in accounting because they didn't have an accounting major at the time, and the minor was just being introduced. Only had a few people in there that they would allow, like based on having a good enough GPA to get into it and stuff. And for me, just from my own experience, I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know, when I was at UCI, I just knew I was really good at calculus and I liked math. And I had initially tried to do like a math major. And then once I got into abstract physics, I had no idea what was going on. So I ended up doing biz econ and really enjoyed it. And then just kind of fell into this new accounting minor that was being introduced. And then through that, fell into the accounting society that's at UCI, and then learned about the firms and how it all works. So I don't think, to Crizel's point, it really, you know, there's a vast different ways to, you know, get the relevant experience even in school and have different majors that can definitely apply. And I think now more than ever, there's a lot of emphasis around understanding, you know, computer science, any sort of coding, things of that nature. Being more in tune with that aspect of things is definitely becoming more and more important as, you know, the profession evolves and becomes more technologically enabled. So that's another aspect I would just think about if there's any way to take additional classes. Learning alt tricks and different functionalities will only be helpful to you.
Thanks, Sabrina. So next, let's talk about some of the opportunities at PwC. And we actually have a pretty wide range of opportunities available for you know, recruits from campus, starting as early as the freshman year. So, you know, I'm not sure what the mix here in this group is, if you have any freshmen, but there are opportunities as early as your freshman year. We call it the career preview program. And with that, that's something that we'd be recruiting for in the spring. So, you know, the ship hasn't sailed here, if you will. There's still opportunities to try to engage and recruit for this. You know, that said, I wouldn't put things on pause, you know, be engaged over the course of this fall. It's certainly strategically right, will put you in a better position when it comes to the actual recruiting process in the spring. The START internship is an internship. It's not in client service. It's with our internal firm services group. It's a multi-week program focusing on diverse sophomores and juniors. That said, you'd need to look on the firm website. There's certain ways that we define, you know, diverse candidates for this program. And with that, the recruiting for this, you know, it's happening right now, but it will extend into the spring semester. The next opportunity to talk about is our Elevate program. This is by another name, our summer leadership program. Again, it's focused on sophomores or juniors, and if you're in a 5-year program. And I guess something to highlight, you know, for our recruiting, as well as I think many of the other firms, we, you know, bucket you as a sophomore or a junior based on the number of summers you have left before you graduate. So, you know, your last summer before you graduate, you want to be recruiting for an internship. You know, if you're getting to that stage, if you have 2 summers left, you'd be looking at these leadership type, a program like Elevate. And then lastly, we have our advanced which is our client service internship experience. For this one, the recruiting happened in the fall semester. Unfortunately, if you didn't happen to get your applications in, the due date had already passed for this. But yeah, this, again, it's a multi-week sort of program. You're really out there in the field, treated like an associate with the firm, you know, whether you're in audit, tax, or risk assurance. We'll say that, you know, this last year with COVID, we had to transition over to a virtual program. That said, the feedback from it was great. What the candidates or what the interns ended up doing was spending a lot of time, one, learning about the firm and all the benefits that we have to offer, as well as spending a significant amount of the time digitally upskilling themselves. So, you know, while they weren't getting that client service experience per se, the digital aspect of things, you know, understanding how we, you know, how to work our workflow automation tools and our visualization tools, bot tools, all of that will be very beneficial to those individuals when they come in full time. And another thing to highlight there, we do have our impact experience. So if you get a full-time offer, you get to spend a number of days down at Walt Disney World, going through a really, in my mind, great leadership sort of experience that was crafted through, you know, a collaboration between Disney and our firm. So it's something that I still regret not having the opportunity to do. I came in in the last class before, after the 2008, you know, 2009 recession, that didn't get to do the Disney experience. So I'm looking forward to one of these days being a chaperone so I can experience it a little bit. So Kendall, do you want to take us through the last few slides here in this next section?
Yes, I think Crizelle was going to start on that one, and then I'm going to dive a little more deeper into assurance.
Sure.
Yeah. So in PwC, we have different services. There's many opportunities, including assurance. In assurance, we test the business's financial reporting so that we make sure that it's appropriate and can be relied upon by different stakeholders. In risk assurance, they provide experience on software data analytics and automations. They also make sure that the internal controls are working properly, designed properly, and working effectively. In tax, they work on tax planning, global structuring, as well as tax controversies. And in advisory, they do complex business issues and strategy with the clients.
So next I'm going to go into a little more about assurance. So audit work is basically our core. We work super close with public and private companies. So I focus on doing private companies. And so assurance services are aimed at improving the quality of information that individuals use to make decisions. So when they put out their financial statements, we auditors come in and make sure what they're saying in their financial statement is correct. So as auditors, we go through each financial statement line item and test it to make sure what they're saying is actually accurate. We are very independent, and so we just kind of make it so the public feels comfortable. One thing about auditing that I can tell from when I started till now is how big the firm is pushing on technology. I just feel like every single year, every couple months, the firm is pushing out something different to make our audits a lot easier, more efficient. And so we're definitely adjusting with the changing environment, and we're definitely helping businesses grow. So the next is what, so there's not only assurance at PwC, there's also CMAS, which is Capital Markets and Accounting Advisory Services, there's Financial Services, and there's Risk Assurance. And so we're going to go a little more into what risk assurance is.
Yeah, sure. And real quick, Kendall, what I would layer in here is, you know, at PwC, we kind of have a different nomenclature, if you will, than some of the other firms. So assurance, really, you know, you think of it, it's this broad umbrella that encompasses, you know, your traditional financial statement auditors, like, you know, many of us on this call, your risk assurance and process assurance type teams, of which Nishant is a part of, and he'll present a bit more. You also have certain aspects of like this financial services or transaction support type segment, which includes things like our CMAS group and other teams that work with valuations. Sorry about that. So Nishant, you want to cut in?
Yeah, sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So risk assurance is kind of an umbrella term for a cluster of different groups with different technical and non-technical expertise areas. So a few of those are kind of listed here, but basically the common factor between most of these groups is that they're all based around organizational and or IT risk mitigation and management. So in risk assurance, you have everything from like process assurance, that's that second one listed there, an internal audit that primarily conduct IT audits and IT consultation or advisory services for various clients, depending on like what the project needs essentially. All the way to licensing management that focuses on contract and licensing compliance matters and helping clients manage like their business partnerships essentially. We also have groups dedicated to data analytics, so that's like the digital risk solutions group at the bottom. They're dedicated to data analytics for financial audits and also for more like what Mike mentioned, Channel 2 clients, which would be more like advisory clients essentially. And then we also have specialized IT groups that focus on specific systems, right, and assisting with implementation projects for those specific systems, and enterprise-wide risks that relate to that specific system as well. So again, sort of a mix of both assurance and advisory. Mike, do you want to go over to the next slide? Yeah. So in terms of why risk assurance, so overall at the end of the day, right, we basically, our goal in risk assurance is to provide quality services and work products to our clients. And that really functions as our primary goal with all of our different engagements and projects. Sort of like a natural byproduct of that is that we try to invest in our people and help them grow professionally and expand their knowledge base so that they're actually able to go out and provide that quality and client service and expertise. So in risk assurance, you're able to really own your skills in not only building, you know, professional client relationships, right, but you're also building expertise in various technical areas such as like system risk management, internal business process audits, data analytics, automation, et cetera, depending on which group you specifically try to go into. Each group is very different, even though we're all grouped under the same umbrella. So I definitely encourage you guys, if you're interested, to look at the website. Obviously, you can reach out to me for questions as well, but check out the website as well. That kind of goes into a little bit more detail on each group. But one thing I want to kind of clarify, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but although some groups are a little like vastly more technical than others, we don't necessarily require technical backgrounds for every single group. So for example, we have a lot of accounting folks in both our technical groups like process assurance, which I'm in, as well as non-technical groups such as internal audit, right? Internal audit purely focuses on business process audits, which would be financial statement audits, or sorry, not financial statement audits, but financial audits. but they're technically still in risk assurance, right? And they're not, they don't necessarily have a technical background. So as always, feel free to, research and ask questions, but looking forward to hearing from you guys afterwards. Do we want to move into tax?
Valerie, I know we need to go to the networking. Are we okay just spending a couple minutes in tax, and then we can jump anybody in the breakout session?
Yeah, no worries.
Or do we need to go now?
Okay. You guys got like probably like 2-3 minutes left, and then we'll go ahead and just pivot that.
Okay, great.
Okay, I guess I'll just talk really fast on tax. So for tax, we basically our daily lives are kind of like evolving in 3 different kinds of work. The first one is provision, which you're basically calculating the provisional tax for the client, where you're just estimating the client tax liability for the year, either for their like financial statement purposes or for their like cash flow or like financial planning purposes. We do actually have client prepare their tax provision in-house, and then we're auditing them. In that case, we work with Michael Cole or like Sabrina, to audit their numbers and make sure that is presented correctly on their financial statements. And the second sort of work which most people, you guys are probably more familiar or probably heard a lot about, is tax compliance, where you basically preparing tax returns, federal and state or like individual returns for the client, and then also the last but definitely not the least is the consulting work, where you basically advising your clients on any like tax related ideas. I had a client, just the other day called me and be like, oh, I want to put a warehouse in Texas. What does it mean for me in terms of tax? Do I need to file a tax return the next day, or what does it mean? So in that case, we'll advise clients on that. And then Michael, if you can help me go to the next slide. So I think as I heard, Kendall or like Sabrina already mentioned, the firm is going digital right now. The firm spend a lot of money on technology, and they're not just like spending money trying to invest in technology. They're spending money to give us the staff the opportunities to not just grow like professionally, but also grow like your business and technical acumen, so you can better so you can provide like better ideas for your client. So for tax, in addition to all the technical skills, we're also looking for people who has like a good like tech knowledge or data analytics skills. You have like a good business professional skills. You're good with like problem solving or the process improvement or like project management. I know it's a lot, it's overwhelming, but we're definitely not like looking for people who has all of this skill. That's why we're like a one team, like, we're working in a team. We are like a diverse group, we're collaborative. So we can, to leverage everybody's strength and to deliver like a better result. And Sabrina will help us with,
Yanzi, when's everybody's tax return due, Yanzi?
Well, it depends if we're filing extension or not.
How about tomorrow?
It is tomorrow.
All right, sorry, Sabrina.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that wraps up our presentation. And I think we were going to just see if there's any questions for the broader group potentially before we do the breakout rooms, or we can address any of those in the breakout rooms if we need to move along to those. So let us know.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and just move along to the breakout rooms. So if anyone has any questions, all of our reps are more than capable of answering any of the questions that you maybe had for the broader group. But we are going to go ahead and break it up into our breakout rooms for some more one-on-one or like more like 1-on-7 networking.